live on AM 790, your source for news and business. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, Coalition_radio at the Mighty Twitter, CoalitionRadio.us. I am sitting here with my co-host, Dave Fisher, and a special guest, Fred Ordonez from DARE. Joining him back in just a moment, but Dave, I've got exciting news. We have a new sponsor here on the show.
Well, we have sponsors.
We have sponsors. and listen, a shout out to Beacon Shipping Logistics, a wonderful organization. I come from the automobile industry. Might be a shock. Schlocky car guy here, right? But what's wonderful about organizations like this, they're stepping up. I mean, we're independent talk radio. We are not an established media forum here yet in the state. We're one of the new kids on the block. So for folks like that to invest their money in supporting independent radio, I think shows a clear commitment to the community, a willingness to support outlets that might be a little bit more controversial. We're not doing, talking dogs, or we're not doing internet memes like the folks on TV are. It's a little edgy. It's a little uncomfortable at times. But again, it's a wonderful organization. I've spent 15 years in the automobile industry. I've shipped cars across the country. I will, over the next few weeks, tell you horror story after horror story. This business is great because it applies to whether you're shipping a car to your kid in college, whether you're taking a car across country, whether you're one of those privileged few who are able to buy a collector's car or buy a handyman special through the internet, through eBay Auto, any one of those organizations. And what you've got here is Beacon Shipping Logistics offers a local solution. Now, there's plenty of internet websites where you can post a request and somebody will respond and tell you they're going to pick up your valued car. And again, it could be that $3,000 car you're sending your kid to college at, or it could be that that family heirloom that that your mom and pop are shipping you, that restored Mustang. The internet websites are a complete crapshoot. I'll always tell the story. 2 Ford Raptors, $65,000 trucks purchased by gentlemen at our dealership over the internet. Now, he was kind of the type that, nice fella, but, if the internet says it, it must be true. And, of course, the internet loves us, so it must be true, right? So he found, and thank God we weren't involved in this fiasco, he gets involved, finds a shipping solution. One night, about 2 hours after closing, these guys finally show up in a almost 20-year-old Dodge diesel pickup with a 3-car hauler in the back with what we call in the car industry euphemistically a crusher on the front. All right, and he's going to take these two $65,000 Ford Raptor F-150s to Delaware, over the Delaware Bridge. These vehicles were so close and so creaky that they were chafing. And I looked at this and I said to the salesman on the account, I said, "Are we involved with this?" He goes, "Nope." The guy insisted that he use his own shipping company. Well, Beacon Shipping Logistics offers contacts across the country for both dealerships and the individual to safely and cost-effectively get great customer service in shipping your vehicle. Whether you be a snowbird in Florida or you're going out to the West Coast, anywhere, anytime, they do it not just for the end users. This isn't just a couple of guys in an office somewhere holed up and trying to make a quick buck. These are folks with a lifelong commitment to the shipping industry. They've shipped vehicles for hundreds of dealers cross-country. We're a pretty exacting, demanding group of people who often, let's just say, a little organizationally challenged. Give them a shout. Beacon Logistics here in Rhode Island, in Warwick, at 855-374-4748. You can find a direct link to their homepage on our website at coalitionradio.us. Again, support the people who support independent media. Over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about a number of companies that, again, in a tight business environment, are taking time to support independent media in this state. Welcome back to the Coalition. We've got with us Fred Ordonez of DARE. Here in Providence, one of the seminal civil rights groups here in the state. A couple weeks ago, we had Kate Nagel on from Go Local Prov. And one of the questions we asked her was about the generational change that's taking place in civil rights and community organizing, because as older organizations, as well thought of as they are, seem to be unwilling or unable to compete in a social media-driven Twitter feed sourcing, community organizing event, and that they are not as on top of events as this new generation is. Yet at the same time, this new generation is doing a wonderful job of really going after some of the core issues in the community, and we want to focus on that today. You're starting to talk about some of the programs, and tell me a little bit about Behind the Walls.
All right, Behind the Walls is our committee made up of formerly incarcerated people and their families, and or currently incarcerated people too. And it's a pushback against the criminalization, basically, of communities, low-income communities of color in the country. So we push back against the war on drugs, as you do. Also, we work to eventually we would like abolition. So we have like a vision of that, long term. But in the meantime, there's just totally uneven playing field and just hyper criminalization that's happening of our community. So we push back against little. That's our overall sort of frame, but we make changes like we got rid of the 3 strikes, the mandatory sentencing for 3 strikes. For drug convictions. We got rid of that. A couple of years ago, we passed ban the box, which means that we got rid of the question: have you ever been convicted of a felony on job applications? Because it's just so barriers for people. And also, we push back against the school to prison pipeline. So school suspensions, even elementary school suspensions, or police interactions with disproportionate by race. Also, racial profiling. So being involved with the racial profiling legislation that's been pushed for like 15 years now that never gets passed. We're currently pushing an ordinance in Providence with a select group of organizations called the Community Safety Act that's based on what the New York advocates have done or are doing. We're now looking into discrimination of people with records on affordable housing and access to affordable housing, Section 8, public housing, all that stuff. So that's what Behind the Walls does, and it's basically, folks are affected. They make the decisions on what we want to work on. They make the decisions on what tactics we're going to use, and then they carry out the work.
And we just jump in. You can find out a lot about DARE on their website at daretowin.org, where they break out a number of the programs that they have. How did you become involved in community organizing? Was there a moment in your life? You're originally from the New Jersey area. You moved up to, as I am, you moved up to Rhode Island when you were a young lad. Tell us a little bit about Fred Ordonez.
Sure. Well, my father was involved, and I sort of understood, I guess, life from that perspective. He, in the 60s, and you guys are probably familiar with this, in the 60s and 70s and 50s, and even into the 80s, in Central America, there was a lot of, the U.S. was supporting a lot of horrible actions by, undemocratic governments.
Whoa, wait, hold on. Hold on. Wait, U.S. foreign policy has driven many of the ills that we're finding in our society today? Are you kidding me?
Especially in other regions of the world. And so my father resisted the government there. So he was a communist guerrilla, and I'm proud to say that. And he moved us here because over there, he was also a union organizer. Over there, they would kill your entire family and all your friends, your whole village.
What country?
Guatemala.
Oh, Guatemala. Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. And so he moved us up here for protection and went back there. And so we didn't really grow up with him. So we grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Poor immigrant family, single mom. And so that, I grew up in New Jersey, sort of escaped, quote unquote, the ghetto of Newark to come here to New England and sort of, live the suburban, more, life that you guys are more familiar with. And my whole life I kind of thought there was really I didn't see any hope. I just saw things getting worse and bad. I had no hope for humanity. So I was sort of a rebellious youth and, was not the most politically correct person in the world. I had a lot of anger. And so and I just took menial jobs and was a musician for a long time. And it wasn't until I saw the Seattle riots in 98.
The
WTO, IMF, all that stuff, which I had known, look, it's the 1% really that's causing all these problems. It's their control of wealth and the mechanisms they use and the puppet sort of democracies they push around. But I didn't know that other folks felt like that or understood that to that scale where there was 200,000 people on the street. This is before 9/11, so there was the focus has changed, but there was a lot of consciousness about that I didn't know existed. To me, sort of protesty type people, or it was like an elite sort of Ivy League school white homogenized thing. I knew about the '60s civil rights stuff, but to what I had saw in the '80s and '90s, I didn't see that. And then when I saw that sort of more militant thing against the actual problem, and by so many people, I thought to myself, maybe there is hope. And so that's when I started looking into locally what organizations and what people were doing to support that sort of work.
And that was 98, you said? Yeah,
98.
98 was WTO, yeah.
And so when did you actually get involved with DARE? What?
Well, I worked at Progreso Latino in Central Falls for 7 years as a policy director there, and I knew of DARE during all that time because we collaborated on a lot of different things. And 6 years ago, I was talked into being the executive director because it was a really sort of tough position.
Talked into it.
Yeah, I didn't really want to do it because it's a lot of work. And so I've been there ever since.
What do you see as your, and there's a litany, there's got to be a laundry list of challenges. What's on the agenda, if you will, for DARE for 2015? What are your priorities?
So police accountability is one, and it was, we were doing that before Ferguson and
you were doing it before it was cool.
Well, it's not that it's cool; it's never cool, but we've been doing using the same frame, but trying to make systemic changes and changing little things at a time. And so we're still working on police accountability with that city ordinance that I was just mentioning. That basically just, people think the police have responded by saying it's going to, if they can't do their job, there's going to be chaos and crime and all this stuff. All it says is that police officers need probable cause or reasonable suspicion to interact with an individual, and they need to document what that is and give that individual that document after the interaction. That's all it's saying. It's because right now it's indiscriminate. They can just harass anybody for any reason, and coincidentally they're harassing a lot more people of color and low-income folks than they are anybody else. So we're saying, okay, why don't you document what your reasonable cause was to initiate that interaction. So that's like the big part of it. And also the gang database is another big part of that, because right now they could just say anybody's a gang member if they're in the same neighborhood, if they're related to the person, if they're walking down the street, they're in the same playing basketball. They can say somebody's an associate, and it gets put in the gang database. Coincidentally, again, they're not going to fraternities.
You're red flagged.
They're not going to fraternities and seeing the same criminal activities happening there and calling them gang members. They're every Asian youth that's walking down the street, they jack up. Doesn't matter if they're straight A students. And what are you up to? Pull your pants down. Let me take your picture of minors, and put them into this gang database. So we're saying there needs to be some kind of criteria, some kind of procedure, and also some kind of due process. If people are like, no, I'm not a gang member, there needs to be some kind of process for that. That's the other part of the Community Safety Act. But we're also working, this is a big question, we're also working to push against this sort of indiscriminate tax giving and tax giveaways to the tax stabilization agreements that Providence does all the time. We're saying there needs to be tangible community benefits. We've come up with a list with a bunch of other groups, labor groups included, of tangible community benefits that if they're going to get a tax break, they're going to have to do these different things, and that because it's all empty promises and it's just backroom deals.
This and this is something that's a great way to look at Rhode Island. I think is like the state that's all carrot and no stick.
Yeah,
like we give away, but then when somebody drops the ball,
not even
we don't really do anything about it.
But they never even. They never even like run with the ball. It's like the ball's
they never even claim to do like we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Right,
they don't track it. No, there's not even bodies that track. Did those jobs come to fruition? Who got those jobs? Nobody's even tracking that. Never mind saying, well, you know what? You're not delivering on your 20-year, tax break that you're getting. You're not delivering on it, so maybe we're going to take it back, or maybe. None of that happens.
I'm from Woonsocket, so CVS is my neighbor. I'm well familiar with the non-proliferation, like the non-halo effect of CVS in Woonsocket.
They literally designed a highway to get people from Woonsocket out of town as fast.
They should
Route
99 should be called CVS's driveway.
Right. or CVS's escape hatch.
So we're pushing for that, and the other